I wanted to do a video on what frees up when we don't have to spend so much energy on, micromanaging your life so that you don't flare up. Micromanaging how you're just active so that your body doesn't talk to you, so that this doesn't hurt, that doesn't hurt. You don't explode this, you don't explode that. And that's a big thing with any level of injury, whatever you call it. It could be soft tissue injury, dealing with your musculoskeletal system, or injuries with digestion, or injuries with hormones, or injuries with skin, or immune, or cardiac, or neural. I call them injuries because they're all going to be coming from the same place, and then your solution will be the same, from the same point of reference, with the rules you have to follow and how you're going to go ahead and look into it. Look into the changes you're going to make. But think about this, just even me walking right now, getting ready for a training session at my house. But if I had a trick ankle, or a bum knee, or that hip, and I was doing an activity that I thoroughly enjoy doing, but I had to do it in such a way and maneuver myself in such a way so as to not feel or not set off my body's need to get my attention with a healing response, I'd miss everything. I'd miss all the people. I'd miss the taste of this enjoyable beverage. I'd miss the smell of the pine. I'd miss the sounds of the ocean. I would miss all that. And that's pretty much what we're existing on living for, is we live to do things, to fix things or prevent things, or for this single, faceted, you walk because it's beneficial for XYZ. You eat this because it prevents XYZ and it's beneficial for this. Like we have no enjoyment anymore. We don't know why we do anything anymore within our own lives. And so when you do heal injuries at the source, and then what opens up, and you realize this at some point, hey bud, at some point later, like what all you notice just simply on a walk, what all comes to you then as you're going through these basic activities, or when you travel, or it could be in your digestion. Like there's going to be certain levels of sacrifice for sure, but when we sacrifice, you actually gain in all these other areas where everyone else will be like, oh, I bet that sucked, not walking for 3 months, or I bet that sucked only eating that specific food because that's all you could digest for 3 months. When in actuality, what did you gain when you do apply it as medicine in your life and you live this way? What you realized through the 3 months, and what you gained, and what you learned, and what changed, and all these other areas, including the one that you had to sacrifice in, how it elevated. Because everyone goes, well, that's a setback. It's never a setback, ever, ever, ever. It's just little steps forward in a direction that you never even thought possible, but you finally gave in to listening to the body and acting within it, not against it, not to micromanage it. And you see this a lot with the relationships, and I covered this in the Zoom. It was, how many of you have trained yourselves so well because you're so fucking strong, and you've done it so intently that whenever something happens, you recognize a trigger, but you just keep your shit together to keep the peace, or to keep everything good, quote unquote. I would throw quotes around that, just so that discussion doesn't have to be made. The conversation, the argument's going to come up. Both sides are going to respond, your bodies are going to feel, but you do so much on top of that to keep the peace and bury what the body's trying to do. And that's where everyone goes, you suppress your emotions, you suppress. We do it all the time with all the other stuff. What the fuck do you think breathwork is? What the fuck do you think supplements are? What do you think a diet is? What do you think all these programs are for? What do you think labs are? What do you think all these forms of medicine are? Suppressing everything. Till the body at one point is just like, dude, I don't give a flying shit who you've employed, their intentions. I don't care what letters are after their name. I don't care what groups they're a part of. I don't care what podcasts they have. I don't care how much, how clean, how this, that. I only know one thing, and that is to heal, and that is to get your attention at times for you to change. I can't do this anymore. You can't do this anymore. And we hit a point where it's just like, okay, finally. And that's usually when everyone's just like, I've been doing all this healthy stuff and it didn't matter. It doesn't work. It doesn't, no, not in the manner that we do it. Or really, what's the intended response? To numb yourself and hide the actual truth of where you need to go in. It did exactly that, sure, till you couldn't ignore it anymore. So again, the amount of energy that frees up, and then what you're able to experience then moving forward when everything, opens up, when you don't have to protect, you don't have to manage, you don't have to blanket, you don't have to micromanage and obsess around every little nook and cranny. Because again, I don't even know how many people have enjoyed a fucking movie because they've been worried about managing their Wi-Fi, or how many people are enjoying their homes because they're so worried about what their house location is and what's on the ground and the community around them. I don't know how many people have enjoyed a food. And this doesn't mean go do whatever you want. It's not even close to what I'm talking about. But there is a massive level of freedom when you actually pay into what the body's trying to do. How many times have you enjoyed an activity like a walk or a game or competition, or even a travel, vacation, adventure? You missed it because you were so concerned about all these things to keep yourself from flaring up or exploding. And once you do get to a point where you heal, once you see, especially in relationships, my God, it's like, this was what we had access to? Exactly. And it's effortless because you know when to put it. You know how to actually go in to do the work to then free up what's possible there, instead of just constantly spending all this energy on fighting what the body's naturally trying to do for you, fighting what the body is trying to get you to see for you, fighting what your individuality, your body wants you to create in a poetic sense of what changes. That's huge. And once you realize and you get to that point, it'll snowball, because you do it with an ankle, or you do it with a knee, or you do it with digestion, or you do it with skin, or you do it in relationships. And it's like, holy shit, this is here for all of us all the time. I can access this. Absolutely. And then you just can't stop thinking about all these different ways that you could live differently to just tap life out dry. And then what's cool is that it just keeps replenishing and keeps replenishing. So it's a keg that's never tapped. A keg that's never kicked. So are you spending energy, so much energy, on just trying to keep the clothes in the dryer with the door open? Or what if you lived in a way, that you actually got to a point where your body didn't have to get your attention, and along the way you changed your life, and along the way you improved everything, so that everything's improving and amplified, even during those sacrificial moments of pulling back in some areas to open up and see where the wisdom is in other areas. You got mountains of examples with that stuff. So again, we dabbled in that a little bit in the relationship zone, but I thought about it even more with injuries or symptoms of any kind. The amount of energy we spend on trying to do all this stuff so right and so exact, so that we don't have this beautiful response called symptoms of healing, that we forget that there's a movie playing, we forget that there's a meal, we forget that there's people at the table, we forget that we moved to a location to enjoy the location, we forget that there's all this life going on around us, because life has become living to just manage and suppress symptoms. That's literally why our existence is on earth. And if you watch every podcast, watch every interview, watch everything, every single thing in life is, oh, do this to prevent this, do this to prevent that, do that to fix this, do this to fix this, walk like this so that this doesn't trick out, wear these so that this doesn't show up, buy this so that, move to here so that, engage with all these people so that, where the fuck was the living part? And then before you know it, you're like, fuck. But then we go so far the other way, where it's like, YOLO, fuck the body, I'm only living once, I'm so young, I believe I'm young even though I'm 80. There's a way that you can blend it all. And the amount of energy that frees up then gets put into the experience. And holy shit,